Happy birthday, Miku! She's now been around for 13 years. That means we've officially entered Miku's rebellious teenage phase, and I'm all for it. And to commemorate this day, I'll celebrate the only way that I know how, talking about video games. I would talk about Project Sekai, but that's not for another week, so no dice there. I've already talked about the most recent Project Diva game, that being Megamix on the Switch, and you all seem to really like that one. In that video I mentioned that I had ideas of how I wanted to cover the other Project Diva games that I was going to sit on until I got a splitter that would allow me to record them. Well, thank you YouTube comments, that's a rare sentence I feel, because you pushed me to finally buy that splitter, so now I can record PS3 and Vita games. I use it in the Vita video, so I know it works. That means I can finally talk about the older Project Diva games. Hooray! This is going to be the start of a sort of mini-series I'm calling the HD Project Diva games. Name's not exactly sharp, but it'll do, and conveniently leaves me some wiggle room for some other videos that I can make. The focus here is going to be talking about the HD games in the franchise, starting with 2012's Project Diva F, and going up to 2016's Project Diva X, and maybe Future Tone at some point. Maybe. I won't be talking about all of them back to back, cause I can only handle so much Miku at once, but I'll try to get them all out without too massive of a gap. With all that said, let's get into it, because I've been sitting on this footage for 2 months now, and I really need to get some use out of it. So to start us off, we have Project Diva F, the very first HD Project Diva game. Following up on the original PSP game, Sega was looking to up the ante with the next entries, with new songs, better visuals, and more features. It was originally released for the Vita, and it was a real good look for the system at the time, but it was also eventually released on the PS3, making it the console debut of the Project Diva series. It was also released in English, which makes it the first Project Diva game released outside of Japan. That makes F a lot of people's first Project Diva game, and I suppose it was successful because every Project Diva game since has also seen international release. So let's take a look and see what it did. Now, it's been a hot minute since we've seen gameplay outside of the arcade version, so a quick refresher for those unfamiliar or for those who might have forgotten. Project Diva F is a rhythm game where you hit the notes in rhythm with some Vocaloid tunes in the pursuit of high scores, and a full combo that you'll miss by one note, it hurts every time. There's a little more than just the normal notes, however. There's the dual notes, which require hitting the respective face and D-pad button at the same time, and there's the hold notes, which require to hold down and release a button after a certain amount of time. For those familiar with Future Tone, remember that the holds are required here for combos, so don't forget. There's also scratch notes, represented by these stars, which you hit either by flicking the analog sticks or rubbing the screen, more on that later. Finally, in regards to score stuff, there's technical zones and chance time. Technical zones feature some of the more intense rhythms and tasks you with making it through without dropping your combo for more points. And chance time is pretty much the same, but has you filling a meter at the bottom of the screen. Fill it up and hit the scratch note at the end, and you'll get a big bonus and some new visuals to the video happening in the background. In fact, we might as well get the presentation out of the way. F's style is super good. Every music video, from the high intensity ones with a focus on storytelling, to the simpler ones focusing more on the choreography, has a visual identity that makes them stand out from one another, regardless of which modules or accessories you're using. And the models too are top notch. I feel like F strikes the perfect balance between the more realistic look of Future Tone and the more anime look of Megamix, making it my favorite aesthetic of the series. It's just a very nice looking game altogether, with only one fallback that I'll mention in a bit. Diva F does have notably less songs than future games at only 38, which isn't even the nice number. However, it makes up for this by how the game is structured. Unlike most rhythm games, which has everything unlocked from the start and just lets you loose, F only starts you off with 3 songs. You play one and then you'll unlock another, you play that to unlock another one, etc, etc. This not only extends the time that you'll be playing the game, but it forces you to experience every song in the game at least once, and I love this. I still stand that the best part of the Project Diva games is finding new favorite songs through playing, and making it so that you have to see the entire song list makes it so much better at that than giving you 200 songs and just saying go. And man, what a song list it is. Right from the start you get 3 absolute bangers, Cat Food, Secret Police, and Melancholic, and it just keeps going from there. Summer Idol, Remote Controller, World's End Dance Hall, MMORPG Addict's Anthem, Unhappy Refrain, Black Rock Shooter, Negapause Continue, just so many good songs. In fact, I may be so bold as to say this is my favorite singular song list in the entire series, jumping the gun a bit here. I just love it so much. There is one problem I have with the unlock system, and that's the difficulty, or rather the lack thereof. You have to unlock the later difficulties, and I get having to unlock extreme, but why can't you start from hard? It doesn't help that I think the normal difficulty is a bit too easy. Each song only uses 2 buttons each, except for Senbon Sakura for some reason. What, did they just forget? I get why it's like this, you gotta ease players into the game, but especially when replaying from a fresh save, you really start to long for the ability to play hard mode right from the start. Project Diva F has a lot more going on than just the rhythm game, however. Perhaps the most noteworthy mode outside of the rhythm game is the Diva Room, a sort of simulator where you can interact and play with the various Vocaloids. The Diva points you get from the rhythm game aren't just used for modules and accessories, they can also be spent on decorations and presents, and giving these out has the potential for unlocking these little events that can play. Raising the friendship levels can be a bit of a grind, and it isn't something that I care much for personally, but I can see the appeal of the Diva Room. It gives a little something extra to work towards besides just playing for high scores, and these events are pretty charming. Just look at Miku and Kaito Go playing them video games. Besides that, there's a concert viewing mode, which is... it's fine. You pick a song, it's performed on a stage, and you can change where you're looking. And that's about it. It's a fine bonus, but it's really disappointing that this is the only place where some songs can be played. You're telling me that World Is Mine and Miracle Paint can't be played in the main game, but they're available here? Whatever. If you're playing the Vita version, there's AR concerts, which are functionally the same, but it uses the Vita's camera to place Miku in the real world. You gotta dig online to find the cards for it, but it's a neat little difference for the handheld version. Speaking of concerts though, there's a whole concert customization mode, and oh my god. You can customize poses, expressions, camera positions, the stage, accessories, and you can create entire rhythm game charts to go with them. You can create new charts based on the songs already in the game, but if you punch in an MP3 into the system, you can essentially make a chart out of any song that you want. This mode is crazy, full stop. I didn't spend much time with it personally. Editing something like this on a controller instead of a mouse and keyboard makes my head hurt, and I didn't want to spend too much time hunting down MP3s to go with these charts, but I know people have gotten mileage out of this mode. But let's just put a pin on that for now, because I feel like we'll be talking about it again later on. So I just said a lot of positive stuff, so now it's time to start listing complaints before I hit you with the wham line. First, we need to talk about the Vita version. Now, you know me, big fan of the Vita, but this version isn't amazing. To start, the US version is digital only, so enjoy having to download 3GB on a Vita, and it doesn't even come with the DLC songs. But more importantly, you can really tell that this game was designed for the Vita, and I don't mean that in a good way. Diva F unashamedly uses every gimmick that the Vita has, and not all of them are good. I already mentioned the AR concerts, but some of the mini-games in the Diva Room are also tied to motion controls, which is a tad inconvenient, but it's whatever. The big one though is present throughout the entire rhythm game. Remember those scratch notes I mentioned earlier? In the PS3 version you flick the analog sticks, but in the Vita version, you have to swipe the touchscreen, and unsurprisingly, this is pretty annoying. It doesn't make the game unplayable by any means. I've gotten my fair share of full combos on this version, but why the analog sticks weren't even an option still baffles me. Dual analog sticks are a Vita gimmick too, so why not use them? However, this is only secondary to Diva F's biggest problem, its frame rate. F is a very pretty game, but it only runs at 30 frames per second, and unlike Megamix, that applies to the gameplay too. I'm not a stickler for FPS so long as it's consistent, but even I have to admit that the transition from the silky smooth 60 of future games to the slower 30 of F really threw me for a loop. Again, this doesn't make the game unplayable by any means, it took some time, but I did eventually manage to adjust, and I was getting some solid combos just like before. But I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a hurdle to overcome, and there's no workaround for this. Honestly, and here comes that wham line I mentioned, I really don't recommend Diva F nowadays. Jumping the gun a bit here, F2, the game's sequel, has all the same modes and does everything far better, and Future Tone and Megamix have most of the songs at a better frame rate. F is a very important game for the Diva series, but unfortunately there's no real point to go back to it outside of just seeing the series transition to HD. It's still a very good game, and it's still very fun, but the future games are just better. But whoops, looks like I just spoiled a bit of the F2nd video. Oh well. With that said, next time we talk about Project Diva, we'll be talking about this game's sequel, Project Diva F2nd. Hopefully this one won't take 3 months, but I do have another Miku video in the works, so look forward to that as well whenever that gets done. So, I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, see ya!